Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, November 24th, and you know what that means. Excuse me. It's time for the High Risk Wrestling Recap. I am your host, Jeremy Pierce. You know, go check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course, the 215 on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get into the news. There was this report that Goldberg had just up and left a signing at the big event in New York, which is completely false. He did everything that he needed to do. The vendor said he was great. Everything worked out. People are just trying to take shots. Jody Threat's contract is coming up at the end of the year, but TNA will make a big push to sign her. She has been honestly a major part of the Knockouts tag team division. Now she's flying solo. John Cena is the most likely headliner for the 2026 Hall of Fame. I mean, it makes sense. Just go lock it in. Hopefully, maybe one day, Chyna will be inducted solo. WWE officials are upset over Priscilla Kelly's remarks about NXT salaries that, you know, after everything, sometimes the contract isn't livable. And, you know, Priscilla Kelly addressed that backlash, saying, you guys took my words out of context. WWE doesn't want the perception that they don't pay well. Well, you take 80% of the profits. Let that sink in. Joe Hendry, even though he will be going to NXT, he signed a main roster contract. I expect to run in NXT for maybe a year, 2 years, win the championship before being called up to the main roster. MLW will be moving their headquarters from New York City to Charleston, South Carolina. You know, South Carolina has, you know, a great wrestling history, and MLW is trying to make those moves. Looks like Heian and Maya World may be the next signings to AEW. They had stepped in when Miranda Alizé and Nixon Newell stepped out, and they've just been a big help for the company. Tony Khan has stated that Wrestle Dynasty may not be going down this year. The first one went down last year. It was a collaboration between AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, Stardom, and CMLL. It was a fantastic show, but New Japan right now, its main focus is on the Tanahashi retirement show, so I can see why Dynasty wouldn't go down. Tony also explained why AEW and Ring of Honor have so many championships, and he essentially answered the question without really answering the question. There was growth, and he's saying, you know, Collision has been great and their schedule is expanding, but you also got to talk about the loss of Rampage, which I still think hurts the company. I don't think there needed to be a national championship. I think the Continental, International, TNT were good enough. He also revealed why AEW pay-per-views usually run to about 4 hours, since they're just contracted. They have to put on a show that runs at least 3 hours and 45 minutes, or they didn't, he would have to answer to some people, but those are the contracts that they have. And listen, I'm cool with the 4-hour pay-per-view. It's just tighten it up a little bit more. On the injury side of things, Kyle O'Reilly, after his brutal no-holds-barred match with Jon Moxley, will be sidelined with some injuries, which means he will not be in the Continental Classic, which absolutely sucks. Hopefully they can keep the momentum after for him. Thunder Rosa provided us an update on her wrestling future, and she is not done, not in the least. She's getting better, she's getting healthier, and she will be returning to AEW and Ring of Honor. She's coming. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Sheamus was pulled from the last time is now tournament due to a shoulder injury. That sucks. I could have seen the finals be him versus Gunther. And Malik Blade has made a return after a year away. Coming back from his injury, he tore his ACL and he was gone for a good long while, but now he is back in NXT. But that is the news, and we should be right back with the weekend review. Monday Night Raw, you know how we start. War games are starting to take shape. This show gets a fist. We open up with John Cena in the ring, who's interrupted by Dom wants his rematch, so that will be going down at SummerSlam as the rest of the Judgment Day get ready to attack Cena. Sheamus and Rey Mysterio make the save, And so we have John Cena's last Raw match, which is a 6-man tag. Him, Sheamus, and Rey Mysterio versus Finn, JD, and Dominic Mysterio. Ultimately, the faces win because, of course, they won. Rey hit the 619, Sheamus hit the Bro Cook, and Cena hit the Attitude Adjustment. We were backstage with Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, and Paul Heyman. And Heyman, defended his draft choice because it was well within the regulations. He's talking about Drew McIntyre joining the War Games team. He hints that his 5th pick will anger even more people, showing it to Aldis and Pearce. We kind of know who it's going to be. In the ring, Jackie Redmond was with Stephanie. She was going to interview Stephanie if you care, but as Stephanie is coming out, Nikki attacks her on the stage, says that she's the one who changed this industry. It's not true. The revisionist history is kind of crazy here, but she will get her title match at Survivor Series. Backstage, Bayley and Valkyria are asked by Asuka and Kairi to join the War Games team. Bayley was like, after everything you guys did to me, joining the group I started, then kicking me out of said group, nah. And then Kairi gave a "you can't see me" to Bayley. Our second match of the evening was the next match of the Last Time Is Now tournament. Solo Sikoa versus a returning Dolph Ziggler, who got a massive pop. I think we were in Boston. We were either in Boston or Madison Square Garden. But this was a good, solid match. You knew Solo was going to win, just like how Zack Ryder returned and took the L. Dolph Ziggler took the L. Here we got a vignette hyping up Javon Evans for his match versus Gunther later in the evening. Alexa Bliss was in the ring, and she was like, "Listen, Charlotte, I don't know what you going on, what you about, but I know you're in New York, so we're in New York. I've seen your Instagram. You're my best friend, so what's going on?" Their heels are interrupting. Rhea and Io come and make the save. Bliss is overwhelmed. The face is overwhelmed. Charlotte comes out with a kendo stick, and everyone hugs. Then we have Becky Lynch defending the Intercontinental Championship versus Maxxine Dupri. This is their 3rd match. So will 3rd time be the charm? Maxine's already got 2 dubs over Becky, but this was a fine match. Becky did her best to put Maxxine down, but Maxxine was always fighting back. As Becky's untying the turnbuckle cheat, AJ Lee returns, skipping out, distracting Becky, who falls down to a top rope crossbody from Maxxine Dupri, who wins and becomes your new Women's Intercontinental Champion. And ladies and gentlemen, this was only Maxxine Dupri's 2nd pinfall in a one-on-one match in her entire career. Her last solo win was 2 years ago. We followed that matchup with Gunther versus Javon Evans in the Last Time Is Now tournament. And even though Javon put up an amazing fight because your boy is bouncy, Gunther still took it home and got to the W, choking out Javon with the sleeper. Backstage, AJ and Maxxine Dupri was celebrating. She celebrated with Otis and Tozawa, her teammates of Alpha Academy, and Rhea asked AJ to talk privately. And our main event segment was Heyman leading the team of Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul to the ring, and Cena Punk entered alone. He was followed up by Jay and Cody. Brawl broke out. Jimmy came in. There's Jay. There's Drew. And the faces are doing great. The good guys are doing really well until, well, here comes the pain. Brock Lesnar is the 5th member. He destroys Punk. He destroys Cody. But hold on. Roman Reigns is the 5th member for the good guys. And he and Lesnar have a stare down Superman punch. Out goes Lesnar. So there are your teams, and they kept on brawling. NYPD got involved until Roman speared 2 officers through the barricade. Shouldn't he be arrested for that? I digress. Over on Dynamite, this was the Full Gear Go Home show. He was also followed up with the Collision, 1-hour episode of Collision. But this show gets a fifth. Our opening contest was Bobby Lashley versus Ricochet. This was for the #1 spot in the Casino Gauntlet for the National Championship. And Ricochet was cutting his promo until Bobby had enough. Grabbed him while he was still talking and threw him out the ring. Ricochet is great, ladies and gentlemen. But ultimately, Bobby Lashley won this match. So he will be entering #1 in the tournament. Then we were backstage with Joe and Shibata, and Joe warned Hangman that you can't interfere tonight or you will forfeit the title, and Shibata will put you down. Followed up with the Bucks and Don Callis, who was introducing them for their match. He encouraged them to prove themselves that they're the greatest tag team of all time. Nick Jackson looked quite annoyed, and Renee wanted to know if they were joining the family. That was followed up with a 6-man tag as the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander for a warm-up took on Sky Flight, which is no easy task because, you know, Scorpio Sky and Top Flight are a great team, but ultimately, you know, Callis and the Bucks were going to win, which was a great win for them. After the match, you know, the Bucks got pressured to join the family. Kenny Omega arrived with a chair and I think a vacuum cleaner and fought everybody off. And then Alexander attacked Omega. Callis tried to force a BTE trigger until the Jurassic Express made the save. Backstage, we were with Willow Nightingale, Harley Cameron, who announced themselves officially as the Babes of Wrath. We had a tribute to Bob Caudle. Tony Schiavone paid a heartfelt respects and a memorial graphic display from. Then we had the second match to determine who would get the number 2 spot in the Casino Gauntlet. It was Shelton Benjamin versus Speedball Mike Bailey. This was a good competitive match, which was marred by the ending of the match. So Shelton hit an amazing super kick and Speedball sold it beautifully. And Shelton called it audible and was like, yo, we should end the match here. The ref didn't, and they had to go for another super kick. It wasn't great, but Shelton and Bobby started 1 and 2 in the Casino Gauntlet. Then we had John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli versus Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong, and a really solid match. This was ultimately to prove that Moxley still has a heat, and Claudio did go on to defeat OC and Roderick tapping out. I think he tapped out Roderick with the Bulldog choke. After the match, Kyle O'Reilly attacked Moxley to apply the ankle lock, and a brawl broke out between the Conglomeration and the Death Riders until Kyle O'Reilly challenged Mox to a no-holds-barred match at Full Gear. We got an announcement for the women's Fatal 4-Way, Tag Team Fatal 4-Way at Full Gear. We were backstage with Fletcher, Callis, and Briscoe. And Fletcher was confident, you know, that he would beat Briscoe again and extended the TNT Championship reign. Whereas Briscoe spoke passionately about his family at home and his family on the road in the Conglomeration. And he's going to do this for them. Okada and Hachicera ended up jumping Briscoe, and Kyle's like, "Yo, we gonna make your kids orphans." And Fletcher thanked Okada for stepping in, and then Okada was like, "A Okada." We had a vignette for Pac, who addressed Darby, apologized sarcastically for lighting him on fire, and challenged him to a regular one-on-one match, no weapons, which Darby did accept. And our main event of the Dynamite portion of our show was Hangman versus Shibata in a solid match. Joe was on commentary. Hangman attacked Shibata as Shibata was entering the ring, on the stage. And it was a good solid match because Shibata's that dude, Hangman's that dude, but Hangman ultimately got the win cleanly with the buckshot lariat. Hangman taunted Joe, saying Joe's alone and he's surrounded by crazy ass fans. Joe promised extreme violence, referencing his prior cage matches. Then we move into the collision portion of the show, which this show gets a fist, also the Full Gear Go Home show. And we were still with Hangman in the ring cutting a promo after defeating Shibata. He told Joe that I am finishing you. Hobbs is in the hospital. Shibata, I just sent him somewhere. It was bleeped out. He reminded Joe what happened the last time Joe was inside a steel cage with someone. I forget what he's referring to. We were backstage with FTR and Stokely. And Stokely says that FTR has 9 years of a legacy, while Brodido will be forgotten in 9 years. They will win the fight. Then we had the next match in the first round match of the women's tag team title tournament with Megan Bayne and Reen Shafir taking on TJ. And TJ put up a valiant fight. Don't listen to the rumors. But if they were going up against, I think, anybody else in the tournament, they might have gotten out of the first round. But Megan Bayne and Reen Shafir are way too much. It just sucks seeing an original tag team go out in the first round, but I expect them to be champions soon enough. Tony and Mina were on the screen via video and called out Bayne and Mina Shafir and teased what future stipulations, because they think, you know, they're going to win the match at Full gear. Tony especially said Mox will be pissing blood after he sees what she's going to do to Marina Shafir. Kris Statlander was also cut a promo as a video package, and she says Mercedes Moné's focus is elsewhere, which is why I'm going to win. Backstage, we were with the Bullet Club Go, who were excited about possibly winning the money at the Tailgate Brawl. Then we have Mascara Dorado versus Kazuchika Okada in a double Jeopardy match. So if Dorado wins, he gets a Continental Championship match, and if Okada wins, he and members of the Don Callis family get a CMLL Trios Championship match. Solid match. This is building off of their triple threat they had at All Out. I believe it was All In. Sorry, All Out comes out after All In, and it was great. It was absolutely a solid match. I think they could have gone even further, but Okada ultimately got the win, and much to Okada's chagrin, he will be teaming up with Hachicero and Takeshita. Backstage, the Sisters of Sky Blue and Julia Hart. Listen, their wrath, their pain, and they are going to finish everyone off at the tournament. Declared that they will be sick, we are twisted, and we will get really toxic. This ended up going into our main event match, ladies and gentlemen. It was Mercedes Moné taking on Red Velvet. This was the unification match for the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship. Mercedes had the interim title. Red Velvet was the main champion. This was great. I think Red Velvet needs to definitely incorporate more of her boxing into her boxing background to her matches, because she put this. Mind you, this was our first match back from injury. It was a really solid match. Ultimately, Mercedes Moné won with, get this, an avalanche lung blower. Man, that is a way to finish someone off. It was brutal. She ended up attacking Kris Statlander, who was on commentary, and Mercedes Moné ended the show standing tall. We move over to Impact. This was the Turning Point Fallout show. We opened up with the tribute graphic to George Tahinas, who was a wrestling photographer. And then we got a recap of everything that went down at Turning Point. Santana came to the ring, talked this talk, told his story, and he's going to end up taking out NXT one by one till he makes his way back to the TNA World Championship. We were backstage with Cass, Santino, and JDC. Cass demands an apology from Santino, who's like, nah. You know, Cass blames Santino for the NXT involvement. JDC interrupts and mocks Cass and wants a title shot. Santino's like, listen, JDC, Eric Young later tonight, number one contenders match. Our first match of the evening was Danny Luna, Rosemary, Myla Grace, Indy Hartwell, and a fatal four-way. The winner will receive a semifinal spot for a knockouts title shot. And it was a good match. Rapid roll-ups really early. Rosemary kind of dominated, fighting out of moves, and then Indy Hartwell dominated. But ultimately, Danny Luna won this match, continuing her feud by pinning Indy Hartwell. We were backstage with Eric Young, who warned everybody, who also blames Santino for TNA's current problem. He says that a cleanse is coming. Then we had the Hardy and Steve McAfee demand a shot at the NXT Invaders. Next match was Matt Cardona versus Mance Warner. Solid match. Mance Warner ultimately got the win, hitting the pay window after Stephanie Delano's chair distraction backfires, but it allows Mance Warner to use the purse and then hit his finisher. We got a promo for the NXT Invaders. They insist that TNA attack first, which TNA did attack first. Robert Stone denies being behind the invasion. Alexa King vows to shatter TNA. Also, Robert Stone used to be in TNA. He was DJ Z. Then we had Cardona, who was furious about the cheating finish from the match, and he challenges Warner to a street fight at Final Resolution. Myron Reed took on John Skyler. Ultimately, John Skyler got the win as he hit the Slumdog, then got an assist from a squad, roll up win, and then Order 4 caused the distraction. We got a recap of the X Division Championship with Leon Slater getting his dub over Rich Swann. And First Class was, mocking Swann, and he confronts Slater, and he wants a shot at the X Division Championship. We had the segment with the search for Mr. Elegance with the Elegance brand. And they had 3 new candidates. The first one was taken away by Ash. The second one was rejected for his jacket color. And the third begs desperately, but he's dismissed as a loser. So the search continues. Our next match was Victoria Crawford versus Jody Threat, Zaya Brookside, and Killer Kelly in a fatal 4-way match. Once again, the winner will face Dani Luna for the Knockouts title contendership #1 match. And this was solid. This was really, really good. You are looking forward to Jody Threat winning this match so she can go to take on our former tag team partner and Dani Luna. Everybody got time to shine, but ultimately it was Zaya Brookside, in my opinion, getting the shocking win. We got a profile video on Jada Stone, the newest TNA knockout, who was trained by Al Snow, who wrestled in the New Japan dojo. She had a failed tryout, later signed, as she's a big fan of Bayley, and she's motivated to prove herself. Backstage, Santino announced the matches for Final Resolution. We got Mike Santana versus Charlie Dempsey. Tag titles on the line. The Hardys versus DuPont and Igwe representing NXT. Steve Macklin versus Stax with the International Championship on the line. Kelani Jordan versus Dani Luna or Zaya Brookside. Knockouts title on the line. Leon Slater, AJ Francis for the X Division Championship. A street fight between Matt Cardona and Mance Warner. Our main event match was JDC taking on Eric Young. If JDC wins, he gets a world title shot. Eric Young immediately attacked him before the match even started, so they're brawling inside the ring, they're brawling outside the ring, and things are heating up. But ultimately, JDC survived the Death Valley Driver, hit a top rope move, finished Eric Young off with the down and dirty 1, 2, 3. He will be taking on Kaz for the TNA World Championship. And lastly, we move over to Smackdown. We're kind of just in a holding pattern until we get to War Games. The show gets a fist. Paul Heyman and the Vision are in the ring, and Heyman, does what Heyman does, cuts a long promo. Breaker is yelling because the fans are chanting for Roman Reigns, he's like, yo, he's not here. He's never here. He's not wrong. Heyman warns the Usos that they're about to be outnumbered because they come out. Cody music hits, but he's not here. We go to the back, and Drew McIntyre emerges from Cody's bus, and inside the bus, Cody is bloodied and laid out. Drew did not break any rules, so we come back from break. Cody's being tended to, and Drew drives away saying, "See you at War Games, champ." Cody got beat. Drew didn't break any rules. U.S. title open challenge. Ilja Dragunov defended against J.D. McDonagh in a really, really solid match. These matches just tend to be good because everyone that faces J.D. is good. Everyone that faces Dragunov is good, and Dragunov is that dude. But J.D.'s also really good in the ring. Ultimately, Dragunov got the win with the H-bomb followed by the Torpedo Moscow. We got a video recap of everything that went down with Charlotte and Bliss from Monday. Alexa tells Charlotte, listen, she's proud of her, and Charlotte says, I only did it for you. And Bliss leads her into a lounge area where you have to have a chat with Rhea. So her and Rhea are going to have a talk. Io leaves. We're backstage with Jackie Redmond, who's with Nick Aldis. Cody's still being evaluated, and Nick confronts the Vision, and Paul Heyman's like, bro, we didn't break any rules. And Paul and Nick is like, well, Reed's only in here because he has a match later tonight. Then we had the next match, which was Carmelo Hayes versus Bronson Reed in the Last Time Is Now tournament, and this was a solid affair. It looks like we're finally trying to fix Carmelo Hayes after wasting him for 2 years on the main roster. Everyone on the War Games team got involved, allowing Carmelo Hayes to get the count out victory as Cody hit Bronson Reed with the Cross Rhodes. Then Cody cut a promo saying that a Steiner will never be better than a Rhodes, calls out Brock, and claims the War Game is his birthright because, his dad created War Games. We were backstage with Chelsea Green. Alba Fire is stalling. Keon and James and Chelsea and Julia arrive looking for Green. Looks like they want her championship. Jade confronts all of them, says, I'll show you what a real world champion looks like. Chelsea's like, I'm out of here. Sammy gives a pep talk to his quote-unquote Survivor Series team, which will be Shinsuke, Dragon Lee, and the Motor City Machine Guns. They are taking on the MFTs. Then we have Maxxine versus DIY. Ultimately, DIY got the win after Candice LeRae removed Axiom's mask, leading to Johnny Gargano getting the pinfall. Rhea and Charlotte talking. They got respect and trust for each other. We're going to do this, and then we'll see what happens from here. And they shake hands. Last time it's down tournament, Finn Balor ends up taking the L to Penta, who beats him clean with the Mexican Destroyer. It was a really good back and forth match. So that we finally got a bracket, because we just didn't know, what the bracket looked like. So on one side, it will be Jay and Rusev. Winner of that match will take on LA Knight and his mystery opponent, who's replacing Sheamus. And then on the other side, it will be Penta versus Solo, taking on the winner of Carmelo Hayes and Gunther. We got a vignette with Solo Sikoa. Says when the smoke clears, it'll be him versus Sammy, and he'll put him away for good, because they got the Survivor Series matchup going down next week. Then we had the final women's main event segment, introducing their respective fifth members. So the faces are in the ring, and they introduce their fifth member as AJ Lee. As AJ is coming out, the heels all attack. AJ goes to try to make the save, but Becky Lynch involves herself and stops her. Jax hits the Annihilator on Rhea, and the heels stand tall. So AJ's the fifth, and Becky is the fifth. Our matches of the week, ladies and gentlemen. From Raw, we have Gunther versus Javon Evans. Solid match. From SmackDown, Ilja Dragunov, JD McDonagh, and the United States Championship match. And of course, from Full Gear, we got three of them things, I think. So we have FTR versus Brodido for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Kyle O'Reilly versus John Moxley in that no holds barred match, and Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher for the AEW TNT Championship. But wait, there's more. Number 4, Full Gear, Kris Statlander, Mercedes Mone for the AEW Women's World Championship. Our stars of the week: FTR becoming your new tag team champions, Mark Briscoe becoming your new TNT champion, Ricochet for becoming your inaugural national champion, Mercedes Mone for becoming your official Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion, making herself 13 belts, Mone, and Maxxine Dupri for becoming, with the shock of the century, your new Intercontinental Champion. But that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look on the screen what we got coming up. Check out the socials: Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic Creations 52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. I see you when I see you. Peace.